No, it was definitely, it's the hardest day of my career, for sure. One of the hardest days of my life. The FTC we had been in a bit of call it a battle, negotiations, whatever the party's going to be, as the FTC did not like AdvoCare's business model, did not like certain ways in which payments were made, the team building aspects of it, and wanted us to make some significant changes. The final decision was made with ownership and things figured out on my second day.
Second day of your CEO? Oh my gosh.
And then on my 15th day as CEO is when I made the announcement to our distributors that we would have to eliminate the MLM structure of the business.
I'm assuming that wasn't very well received in the distributor network.
No, it was, when you're doing something that hasn't been done before or something that's uncertain, hasn't been done very much, it's okay to say you don't know exactly what you're doing. But be vulnerable with confidence, right? And saying, you know what? This hasn't been done before, and we don't know exactly the best way to do it. But guess what? We're going to figure it out. And being open about it and not trying to act like, hey, we've got everything's going to be fine. We've got this all figured out. It was, no, we don't. But that's okay, because we are going to.
Welcome to Unlocking Moves, where we want to cover those key pivotal moments and decision points that really change the lives of successful entrepreneurs and leaders. And I want to hear their stories, because I think we learn the most from stories. But I don't want to hear just their glory stories. I want to hear their gory stories, because as I like to say, the bigger the shit show, the bigger the lesson. And my guest today is Patrick Wright, and he definitely has some gory stories, and I'm quite sure he has quite a few shit shows as well. Because he was thrust into the CEO role right as one of the most prominent multi-level marketing companies in the country was impacted by an FTC decision. And we're going to definitely get into that story because there's a lot to unpack there with that massive pivot he undertook. But before we get going, Patrick, you probably know I like to hit my guests up with an off-the-wall question or comment to really keep them on their toes, keep my audience on their toes. You ready for this?
I'm ready. Hit me. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
You know, I had a question. I was all prepared to go, but I see all these guitars in your background. You got to tell me the story on the guitars. Are you a professional guitar player?
I wish, you know what? I wish I was here to tell you about all the unlocking moves as a professional guitar player. I am a guitar fanatic and I love to play. So pretty much every single day, I will pull one of these guitars off the wall. It's my happy place. If I'm a little bit stressed, or maybe I'm trying to get creative, or whatever it may be, I'll take one of these down and play. And you can't even see them all. There's more. It's one of those habits that you probably like maybe with women in handbags or shoes. I have too many guitars, like they have too many bags, but I love it. And everyone needs a happy place.
Well, it's got to be cathartic, I bet, just to strum the guitar from time to time. But I also understand one of them is hand painted by you. Tell me more on that.
Yeah, I can pull this one for you. A couple of years ago, I started getting into, I don't know, when all this personal growth and personal development, trying to figure out your life. Are you going through stress, right? Obviously, 2019 was a pretty stressful year. And I was reading a book, and they kept referring to finding things that kind of turn your brain off, and about getting into meditation and getting into different things. I thought, maybe I should try painting. I'd never painted. I am not an artist. I didn't used to consider myself a creative person. I think I've kind of accepted I am now, so I started painting, and I got into this in pouring. I don't know if you've seen creative pouring and different things like that. So I worked on that. I would spend an hour or 2 or 3 a week in the garage, just learning how to paint and pour. And I love guitars. And I thought, what if I could do it, pour a guitar? So I tried it. I went to the store, bought a guitar to put everything off, taped it in certain spots, and then I painted that.
Dude, that is badass.
After a lot of trial and error, got it to work. So, it's taking, I guess, combining two of my hobbies and passions into one, and it was a lot of fun. And it looks really cool.
It looks very, very cool. And I'll say, hey, for all my LinkedIn and Instagram followers, if you like this episode, you're going to win a hand-painted guitar from Patrick Wright.
Yeah.
Not really, not really. Just one of empty promises Kurt makes. Hey, as you can tell, my guest today is Patrick Wright. He's a graduate of BYU and also has a MBA from the University of Dallas. We're going to talk a lot about his career at AdvoCare. He was there for 16 years, the first 11 working his way up through sales and marketing. And then he stepped up into the CEO role right around the time the FTC was making a very impactful decision on the company and the people that work there. And we're going to get into all that as we go and what happened. But before we go, I just got to say, welcome to Unlocking Moves, Patrick Wright.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, Patrick, I want to get into that pivot. But before we do, let's talk a little bit about your background. So you graduated from BYU in 2003, and then you began working at Tahitian Noni International in 2002. It sounds a little bit like a superfood juice based in Tahiti. Tell me a little bit about that story. Why did you get into that industry? And maybe a little bit about your background.
Right. Yeah. So straight out of college, I was in my last semester of college, and they said, "Well, you have to have an internship to graduate." So I just started asking around everybody. My brother-in-law was at that company, does a nutritional supplement company, and said, "Hey, is there any way I can get an internship in the marketing department?" He somehow hooked me up. I got into the marketing department as an intern, and then I guess I did a well enough job that 6 months later, when I was graduating, they said, "Hey, we'll hire you if you want." And I think starting salary of $28,000 or something amazing like that. And I started as a junior marketing guy, doing market research and things like that.
Hey, let's pause there for just a second, if you don't mind, Patrick, because this is college graduation season, and I get asked all the time for help, helping some kid, find a job. Two things you did there that were impactful. I want to make sure my audience hears for their kids or for themselves. Number one is you leveraged your network. It was your brother-in-law, but everybody has a brother-in-law or a brother or a friend or a parent's son or whatever, or daughter. And you also took an internship. And I don't know if you were paid or not, but a lot of people can take an unpaid internship to prove themselves. And so I want to just call that out for others who are listening. Maybe tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I think that one of my unlocking moves, and I hadn't thought of this one, but I think it is, and it's kind of the advice that I give I have a son who's a junior in college as well. It's you take advantage of every opportunity that's given to you. The put me in coach should be, if it should be the mantra I would have of any person that is aspiring to anything. It's put me in coach. Where there's an opportunity, you jump on that. Oh, I'll take that. Oh, you want me to help you with that? Oh, I heard you mentioning we're having some problem in, with it. Do you want me to take a look into that? It's volunteering and jumping. It's not forcing yourself where you're not wanted, not putting yourself in being the awkward person, but every time there's an opportunity to do something, you volunteer for it and you take it. I did before college. I spent some time in Latin America. I lived in Brazil for a while. And then so I learned Portuguese. And then after I got back, I was like, Portuguese is not going to be very useful in life. So I started taking some Spanish classes because they're similar, and I learned Spanish. And so an opportunity came up at that same company about a year later to work with the Latin American division. They had they were in about 8 or 9 countries in Latin America. So I applied for the job. So I got that job. So I started working in Latin America. We were having an issue, maybe a year into that, we were having an issue in Chile. The country manager just got a job. Actually, he got a job at Herbalife, so he left us. So I said, "Hey, that's a problem. I can get on a plane tomorrow and go down there." And my boss was like, "You will, really?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll go." And I think that's just kind of from an Unlocking Moves perspective, as I look back on my life, thinking, what would life be like if I had been more passive and been like, "Oh, well, that's too bad." But I had kids at the time, and just everything involved in that. And I think that over a series of time, ended up almost staying in Chile, ended up almost moving my family to spend some time as an expat in Chile. We decided not to. We came back. And then shortly after that, I was introduced to AdvoCare and made the move out to Texas.
Well, so let's get into that in just a second, but let's come back to a little bit of what you just said. You made your own break is what I heard. You learned, obviously, Portuguese. Maybe you were doing some mission work through BYU, but you also learned Spanish because it would be more helpful, and that impacted your opportunity at your company. And you took the opportunity to go to Chile and help them. You asked how you could help, as opposed to, "Oh man, that sucks. Good luck," right? You actually stepped up, and that's really helped move your career forward. And I want to make sure my audience hears that as well.
Yeah, it's you never know where that opportunity is going to lead, and it's rarely going to. And most times it leads to nothing, but it rarely leads to bad things, right? I mean, you may do a little more work. You may have to put in a couple extra hours. You may do some stuff, but any good leader, any that recognizes talent, I mean, it's that is much more important. I think is having that someone that's ready and just willing to jump in and figure it out.
I like that. So fast forward to 2008-ish, you said you moved back to Dallas, you were introduced to AdvoCare. Tell me about that. And it looks like you rose through the ranks fairly rapidly at AdvoCare. And tell me a little bit about the size of the company when you joined and maybe some point of reference. Today's episode is brought to you by Chinook Seedery, the best sunflower seeds ever. Available online at ChinookSeedery.com and Amazon or wherever you get your seeds, including Buc-ee's, Dick's Sporting Goods, Shields, Love's Travel Stops, Circle K, and thousands of other locations around the country.
Yeah, timing was, obviously timing is, we all get lucky or unlucky with timing in different parts of our lives. Definitely, I had some really lucky timing. AdvoCare was, had been around for quite a while, almost 20 years, but it was in it at a lowest point it had been in quite a while. It was around a $40 to $50 million revenue company. And I was hired actually because of my work in Latin America to begin opening Latin America and helping support the U.S. Hispanic market. So that was actually what brought me to AdvoCare, was that work that I had done in Latin America and my language skills. So I came in, and again, when you're willing, and trying to have that same mentality to say, hey, where can I step up? It was, hey, you know what? We don't need to be worrying about Mexico right now. I'm jumping to support the U.S. because it's growing so fast. So I jumped into a sales VP role and started just really running with that, and and supporting all of our reps out in the field. And then there was an opportunity. We had a vacancy in the CMO position, and I said, I think I can help there. I think I understand what our reps need to succeed and how the marketing can support them. Let me help with that. And I was given the opportunity to run to be CMO.
Nice. So as I understand, so this is 2008 all the way through 2017, 18, 19-ish as you're going. And as we talked before, it sounds like you were on this succession path, and then all hell broke loose in 2019-ish. Tell me a little bit about what happened there, and let's set the stage for this massive pivot that I alluded to before.
Yeah, and everything I'll share is just pretty public knowledge and out there on FTC shared a number of documents and different things like that. The FTC we had been in a bit of call it a battle, negotiations, whatever the parties may be, as the FTC did not like AdvoCare's business model, did not like certain ways in which payments were made, the team building aspects of it. And, wanted us to make some significant changes. So
let's pause there just so everyone understands. Tell me in 20 seconds or less, multi-level marketing, comparison to a pyramid scheme. Tell me about what we're talking about here so the audience get their arms around it.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of a pyramid scheme would be where money is really just changing hands. There's not really a product that's coming in. It's robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then you got to rob Jerry to pay and then it just keeps going on, and whereas a multi-level marketing system, maybe you are able to build a team of salespeople who then, when they sell products, you earn a commission. So at AdvoCare, you had people, and just like whether it be AdvoCare or other companies, they may, someone's organization may have 10 or 20,000 people, all because they 10 years ago said, hey, I'll do this. And then they told their friends, and those friends told some friends, and they start to build an organization. And the benefit of the multi-level marketing compensation is that the person that, is the impetus of whatever group it is able to, in many ways, earn a commission off of all of the sales that are coming in through them. So it's an opportunity to earn a pretty significant income for those people that are up there. And then the other argument on the other side is, well, it's only those few people that are able to do that earn all the money. And so that's where the rub typically comes in. And I don't think we're here to talk through that here in this podcast, more about the shift. But I think that was kind of the fight and the battle that was going on.
Well, let me just add that I was a distributor I think I still am officially or unofficially. I don't know what I am anymore, but I still have a membership or whatever. AdvoCare. I bought it mainly so I could buy protein shakes for my boys as they were going through football, and because I love the Spark drink, whatever the Spark. Drink
Spark's
was.
very popular.
Yeah, and I perhaps my godfather, grandfather, whatever it is in the organization was Jeremy Teal, who's a big CrossFit member or gym owner in Austin, and he said to tell you hello. Shout out to Jeremy Teal with CrossFit Central.
Hey, Jeremy.
All right, there you go. Okay, let's go back to the story a bit and talk about that leadership succession and what happened next.
Yeah, so I had been in during this process, and we had a great CEO had major experience in the industry, kind of an icon, Hall of Fame member in the direct selling world, and a great mentor of mine. And it was Brian, and Brian was coaching me and really helping prepare me to become CEO, and did all the CEO succession planning. He even brought in Spencer Stewart to run me through the ringer and do all of those things and work with the board to make sure I was ready to go. So the timing wasn't exactly as it all planned, because it was a bit chaotic. And, I remember thinking, I've had the goal to be CEO for a long time. And I'd had the goal to be CEO of AdvoCare for I think it was only a few years into the job. I think, I think I could do this. I'm not ready right now, but I think I can get there. I could do that. And I set my sights on that, just like I think everyone should you always set your sight on your boss's job first, at least, and just keep going. And I want everyone that works for me to have their sight set on my job too. Those are the kind of people you want, right? So I'd had that as my goal. I think I can run this company. And there were a couple of chances where I thought I'm going to get my chance, and I didn't. But it kept going, and we had so many great people. Like Jeremy is one of many, many great and amazing people that I got to work with while I was there. So I love that part of it. And then through the chaos and everything with the FC and everything that was happening was really what gave me the opportunity. And I remember Brian, my mentor, saying, "Look, yeah, you've got the job. You're about to run a really big company, and you're 39 years old. You're about to give him the reins of a really big company. That's an opportunity not very many people get. Did you think it was going to happen under like some perfect circumstances where everything's going great and you just get to step in?" And I was like, "All right, man, you make a pretty good point." And so he really helped kind of shift my vision from going from, wow, I've just been handed the reins to, chaos and something really scary, to, well, yeah, that's often how the opportunities that you get sometimes come in that form, and that's why you got them.
Interesting.
And I was young, and was I ready? I don't know. Did I know what I was to do? No, not necessarily. And then we could talk a lot more about that, because that's one thing I didn't know, exactly what the right moves were going to be.
Okay, so Patrick, if I may, let me ask you a little bit about scale. Tell me how big AdvoCare was at this time.
Yeah. So, at that time of transition, AdvoCare, we were hosting conferences with 20,000 sales reps in Cowboy Stadium. We had over 200,000 preferred customers who paid a $20 fee for a discounted membership as customers, and had over 60,000 sales reps that were selling our products on every single day. There were events going on across the country pretty much every day of the week, virtual events. And the social media was blowing up, and AdvoCare was clearly one of the dominant MLM companies in the U.S. specifically. We had focused U.S. based. A lot of companies were big international. We weren't. We focused on the U.S. and we were sponsoring college football bowl games. We had a NASCAR car. We were everywhere.
Wow.
Maybe that may have led to some of the issues as well.
So you guys are legit, and you really, this is a big deal to be ascend into the CEO role. Then, or at some point in there, the FTC basically made a decision that you no longer could sell the way you were selling. Tell me a little bit about that and immediate impact. How long did you have before you had to stop selling that way? I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, the final decision was made with ownership and things figured out on my second day.
Second day of your CEO. Oh my gosh.
And And then on my 15th day as CEO is when I made the announcement to our distributors that we would have to eliminate the MLM structure of the business and convert to what we refer to as a single level comp plan, which is truly a D2C model, where if someone still wants to sell, if someone's a gym owner and they want to sell, they can, but there is no other. That is the only way that compensation can be given for this. Is just for the sell of product.
I'm assuming that wasn't very well received in the distributor network.
No, it was definitely. It's the hardest day of my career, for sure. One of the hardest days of my life. Definitely the hardest day of my career was to have to get on in a Zoom of all options because everything was time sensitive, and the government is very powerful and they have the ability to do things very quickly if they choose. And so we had to move very quickly, and unfortunately, I had to be via Zoom call with our top earners and leaders, where I had to share with them the news. And and it was, as I told them then, it had been going on for a very long time, but we were unable to share because it was part of our agreement that we were not to talk about what was happening. So we told them that we had been battling for a couple of years, and that it was going to no longer be possible to continue the battle, that we would have to shift away from MLM. That was a very, very dark day.
And did the FTC grandfather you in somehow? They give you a certain time frame? How long did you have to make the shift from MLM to D2C?
60 days.
60 days. What the hell? What did you do? And going from this great, Super Bowl hosting extravaganza to what?
Yeah, truly. So, and the reality is, given IT constraints, right, and how the way our infrastructure was built at the time, and how commissions are paid, and how the website works, and coding, and lead time, we really had about 2 weeks to figure out how we were going to sell product. We had about 2 weeks to say, what is the new AdvoCare going to look like? Because every day longer than that was just put our team in and give them no time to build whatever we came up with. So we only had about 2 weeks to decide that the new way of selling AdvoCare had to be done very, very quickly. So there's a lot happening all at the same time. On one side, it was, I've traveled the world with some of these people, some of my closest friends. I've met their kids, and in the 10, 11 years that I had been there at that time, I'd gotten to know some of these people so well. And so it was very, very, very difficult to be the one to have to share that with them. So it was truly a dark day. At the same time, I had to go downstairs and, tell our employees what was happening and try to tell them we're going to make a plan so that they can have a job. So on the one hand, I feel like I'm losing this over here, but I've got to save this over here. And we have to focus and really do everything we can to make sure this works, because there's no guarantees. This was something that had never been done before. It's since been done a couple of times. A couple of companies have made this decision of their own. Even in the past 6 to 8 months, it's happened twice now. We'll see. Time will tell how those go. Where companies have made the decision to shift away from MLM to D2C, but it hadn't been done truly yet. There was no use case. There was no case study. There was no playbook of any kind. So it was very much let's get after it.
Okay, let's pause there. I want to just reflect. That's an amazing shift that you're going to have to make. You're going to have to. You delivered some very challenging news to your distributors. You delivered some we've got to bow up and make this happen news to your employees, presumably your shareholders as well. You have a big challenge in front of you. Obviously, you didn't shy away from it. And I don't know if I know the facts on what happened next, but tell me a little bit give me a spoiler alert. Were you able to save half your revenue, all of your revenue, and how did that go? And then I want to dive into how you made it happen, because I know you were successful.
Yep. Yeah, it was, as we're going through this process, it's, and I think anytime you're faced with a massive challenge, it's easy to start focusing on the negative. Well, now we can't do this. Now we don't have this. Now we don't have that. And in the end, we made the decision. We said, you know what? And this is hard. These are the kind of things that are hard for someone that used to sell AdvoCare to hear. These are decisions that we had to make. We say, okay, in what ways what can we do now that we couldn't do before? What is being a D2C company, in what ways is it easier than being an MLM? And so really trying to say, are there advantages? Are there things, what should we be taking advantage of instead of saying, oh no, we can't do this, we can't do this. Okay, what can we do first off? So one, we knew we have great products that people love. People love the products and we have a lot of customers. So we're going to make sure we're going to keep every single customer that we possibly can. So we're going to lose some we're going to follow their leader that brought them in to their new opportunity or something else. And that's fine. And I had good conversations with people who said, hey, I love this, but I got to build an income. I got to go where, and I even had some say, what do you think about this company versus that company? And I would tell them my opinion and help in any way that I could, because I supported I wanted to support them any way I could. But we knew we had great products. So we say, okay, we've got great products and we have a lot of customers and we have a lot of people that love our products and they just want to use our products. And they don't care if we're an MLM or a direct, they just want to go online and buy their products, right? So how do we make sure that we are the best company we possibly can be for them? Because before we start figuring out new customer acquisition and customer acquisition costs and lifetime value and average order, all that, let's first make sure we don't lose the customers we already have, right? Mm-hmm. So that was when, okay, how can we be better? What can we do differently? So I think one of our things we were able to do really quickly was we took it from, you go to the website, you want to place an order, it used to be 6 or 7 clicks to 3, right? We got rid of all the fluff, got rid of that was some of the complications of, hey, do you know a distributor? Do you know somebody? Or nope, we got rid of all of that. It is, you want Spark? Here, click here, buy it, Apple Pay, Google Pay, bam. Sometimes you're out in 2 clicks. So just, we're going to say, hey, what are the best e-commerce companies doing out there? What makes them great? What makes it? We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to start. What are they doing? Let's steal it. What's Uber doing? Right? What are all these companies doing? Company referrals. So Uber had gotten really big, but it was already big, but they were built off of referrals, right? So hey, let's get some referral marketing going and doing all of that. Where can we just get better and leaner and faster, right? And make it easier for that. So that was the first bucket was existing customers, and then it became about, okay, but now we've been doing customer acquisition for years. It's not like we didn't. The company was always trying to acquire customers. We would just hand them over to a distributor typically. So now it was, okay, we got to go out and get all the customers ourselves, and we're probably going to have to maintain that customer relationship all by ourselves.
So, hey, Patrick, let me pause you here for a second, because I want to recap what you just said, because it's very powerful for anybody going through any kind of pivot, any kind of change to their business model, whether it's because of the FTC or because of tariffs or because of COVID, whatever the case may be. Number one is you focused on your strengths. You had a great product. Number two, you wanted to keep your core customers. So forget was trying to chase the shiny rainbow. Let's keep our existing customers. Number three, you leveraged what other people are doing, whether it was in your own industry or others. So you begged, borrowed, and stole from other e-commerce companies. You got ideas from Uber and people in totally different industries. So I just want to make sure we hit those 3 things as something that anybody can do as they're going through a pivot. Now you're going to talk about growth and how you grew your customers through the process, but I wanted to come back to that.
Yeah, I think that as I was thinking about the podcast, I know you were talking about unlocking moves and some key decision points and some key points. And as I look back and think truly about everything that we did, and I had an amazing team. I'm never no way I could ever take credit for the success that we had, because it was all through such an amazing team that did it. But when you're doing something that hasn't been done before, or something that's uncertain, hasn't been done very much, it's okay to say you don't know exactly what you're doing. And, you could rely on Brene Brown or whoever may say, it's okay to be vulnerable, but be vulnerable with confidence, right? And saying, you know what, this hasn't been done before, and we don't know exactly the best way to do it, but guess what? We're going to figure it out. And the way we're going to do that is we are in a fail fast mentality. We are going to try things, and if they work, we'll keep doing them. If they don't, we won't. And if something can't be implemented quickly, we're not going to try it. Gone are the days of we want to do X. What's the lead time? 12 weeks. Nope, we're not doing it. We want to do something that we know we can implement in 2 weeks. And if it doesn't work, then we'll just get rid of it.
Let's go.
And everybody, and then I said, and I need all of us to be on board with the strategy to say, hey, we're going to try things. We're going to find things that are going to work, and it works. We're going to keep it going, right? If it doesn't work, hey, that was okay. We're moving on. Fail fast. Just keep trying. So especially from a customer acquisition standpoint, even from a customer retention standpoint, all of those things, it's, hey, let's try it. If it doesn't work, right? And I think, but being open about it, right? I think, and being vulnerable about and not trying to act like, hey, we've got just everything's going to be fine. We've got this all figured out.
Yep.
It was, no, we don't, but that's okay because we are going to.
I think that's very powerful. Admitting that we don't have all the answers, but we are going to figure it out. And we've got some very smart people around the table that can figure it out. And I'm sure a lot of trust in your team. So very, very powerful. So give me so we're 60 days is our total time frame that we were given by the FTC. The first 15 days, or I think you said 15 days, to figure out like what are the strategies we want to even start with. At what point did you say, oh shit, we're in trouble, or that you said, hey, I think we got this?
Yeah, I mean, it was such a guessing game, truly, in the beginning. And I'm sitting down with the CFO, and we're modeling. We're modeling what happens if we go from here to here, to here, to here, to here, to here. Do we need to get a line of credit so we can make payroll? If it goes, everything, because we truly didn't know what would happen when we made the announcement. And so, we made the announcement, but then that 60 days, the business continued to run as normal for 60 days. So obviously that it wasn't the same level of enthusiasm and things, but there were still commissions being paid and things were going. So through that process, we began to see some of the results of some sales. But at the same time, I remember we had one of our most popular products was a pineapple coconut spark, which was a kind of a summer flavor, kind of like how Starbucks does their summer flavors or their Christmas flavors. We had those types of things, and we said, hey, we're doing it still. The show is going on. We got this product. We got people who love it. And in the middle of the chaos, we said, hey, pineapple coconut is live. And we had a great sales day. And the customers that had been waiting and loved that pineapple coconut, and every summer they go on and buy 10 bags of it. They all did it. So business as usual in that sense. And that was, I think, part of the key was all the things we do really well. There was no reason we shouldn't just keep doing them, right? In a pivot, it's what are you really good at? And I'm curious as an example, and I don't know if you can get him on. Hopefully, maybe you can get the new Starbucks CEO on about he's trying to pivot. But I think when you're hearing what are they trying to do, getting back to like what are we a coffee company, like what are we really good at? We make good coffee, and that just why do people come here, and getting back to that core competency. And I think even when you're pivoting, making sure that like, okay, what are we really good at? Because even though we're pivoting over here, we still want to be good at that, whatever that is. And for us, that was, we make really good products and they taste really well and people love them. So no matter what we do, that can't change. And we use third-party testing, so it's safe for that can't change. But we always want the athletes, the CrossFitters, they always know, hey, this is tested, it's safe. Okay, we're going to keep that. We have a scientific and medical advisory board that advises us, so people feel like we got to keep them involved. We've got those key pieces for as long as we could. Called Drew Brees. I had that comment, hey, Drew, and actually, no, Drew called me. He was our national spokesperson. He said, hey, Patrick, man, this sucks, but I just want to let you know, I love you guys. You stuck with me when I was in San Diego. Nobody wanted me. I'm sticking with you, and so keeping those relationships. So holding on to all the things that we did well. And then from there, now we're pivoting. What do we need to get better at? What do we need to add on? What do we need? How do we need to adapt? And how can what needs to change?
And that sounds so simple. Keep doing what you do very, very well. Get better at things you don't do well, or figure out that the areas where you need to focus in, maintain strong relationships with the important people, whether it's your vendors, your suppliers, your spokespeople, your shareholders. So relationships do matter.
Right. That's it. They truly do. And it's in the end, that's all we have, right? Is our relationships, and we knew that. So let's just hold on to those as much as we can.
So Patrick, what advice would you give to somebody today, whether it's a small business or a mega enterprise like AdvoCare, who's going through their own challenges today, whether it's, again, maybe related to tariffs or anything political or macroeconomically?
Well, I think in all chaos, there is opportunity, right? And I think that COVID was a great example of that for us. Is everything, while COVID was so harmful and so hurtful in so many ways, there are so many people that benefited, or companies that benefited from renewed interest in health and wellness, or working from home, or teleconferencing, or whatever it may be. And so sometimes I think the first thing I would say is, let's say it's tariff. I'm stressed about tariffs. Is there an opportunity here? That may not be on the surface. There's no. Well, if we keep looking and we keep thinking and is there an opportunity? Is the current problem also creating an opportunity? The obstacle is the way. Ryan, I'm forgetting it. The Daily Stoics. I love that. I really love Ryan. Yep. The Obstacle Way is a great book. Is I would say sometimes the obstacle, the thing in your way, is actually what's going to get you to the next spot. So first, look for that opportunity. I would say that would be the first thing to say.
I love that. There's opportunity in the chaos. I love that. And don't just quit because you've got an obstacle in your way. That's not the winners in life. Aren't the ones who don't get knocked down. The winners in life are the ones that keep getting back up and fighting and learn from it.
Yeah, I mean, you learn so much more when you're fighting through something like that than when things are going well, right?
Absolutely. So, hey, we're at the point of the show where I want to ask you about your unlocking move or moves. We talked a little bit about one earlier. Is there any others that come to mind that was a big key to your success or your growth?
I think that for me, I'd always wanted, and I always do want to be an authentic person always. And I think that as I continually trying to remind myself to be authentic in all of the moments, especially in the beginning, especially in the really hard times, whether that means being vulnerable, necessary, or just being honest, and that sticking with that has allowed me to gain the trust of the people around me. That, hey, this Patrick is the same Patrick. This is the guy that we've known for 10, 12, 13 years now. He's the CEO, but he's still the same person because is real and genuine. And when he says something, he means it. And if he doesn't know, he will say, I don't know. Right. And I think just trying to do that. And that's something you have to try every day. And I'm not perfect at it, and I miss it all the time, but trying to just be genuine at all times helps you gain trust. And, as I've been now out of, AdvoCare since the last summer, and been exploring and looking and talking to, just going out in the world and seeing everything after 16 years in one company. I've learned that there is, I think, a bit of a void of EQ in a lot of leadership areas. And a lot of the people that are looking for talent, or placing talent, or putting very important people in very important jobs, oftentimes look so much at what's on the paper and not at the parts that aren't on the paper, which are, can this person truly lead a team? What emotional intelligence is required to make a pivot? The level of the team, getting your team to believe in what you're doing, knowing how I can push this person, I can't push the other person the same, and understanding the difference between personalities and people. Moving an organization requires a level of emotional acuity and understanding of people that I wish we could teach classes in universities and different things about how to work with people, how to lead people, how to understand people. And I think it's a much needed skill out for any company, because somebody, it's not all just about talent and, well, I've done that before, but it's how can I move a team? Can I pivot an organization? Can I get everyone behind me? Can I get people excited? Right? No one can do this alone. I can't do it. I'm going to have to get a lot of people, whatever I'm doing, I'm going to need to get a bunch of people on board with me to do it. Right.
And that hits home the importance of emotional intelligence and vulnerability when leading through change. And that definitely hits home for me. I've had a recent incident where I like to think I'm authentic and I'm really leading with the things you just described. And in your periods of stress, we all have moments. And I had a moment a couple of weeks ago where I said some things I wish I hadn't, and I was called on the carpet on it by my partner, and I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation about it. And it's very powerful to have someone call you on it, and you learn from it through the process. And we're all learning. We're all on a journey.
Exactly.
So I like to consider myself the listener's advocate, and I like to think if I've got Patrick Wright, here on a one-on-one, what would I want Kurt to ask him? And I've got to ask you this, and not everybody knows this, but I know you through YPO. You're in YPO Dallas. I'm in Austin. And my question for you is, how has YPO helped you through this process? I know you joined after you were already CEO for a couple of years, but tell me a little bit about how YPO has benefited through your transition and through your journey. And YPO, by the way, stands for Young Presidents Organization. It's an organization of CEOs and presidents.
YPO has been just an incredible benefit to me. While I was CEO of AdvoCare and since, truly having a network of people. Some of my closest friends are now in YPO, people you can call up at any time, no matter what is happening in your life, good or bad, and they step up and they are there for you. And I got a group of 8 guys that I know if I needed them tonight, they would all be here. No matter where they were, they would show up and be here for each other. And in the same note, this such an amazing network. I think in the pre-meeting, I was sharing with you how I wish I knew everything that I've learned the past couple of years through YPO 5 years ago when I took over as CEO for the first time, because I learned so much. When you're surrounded by entrepreneurs, they're creative, they're scrappy. Some come from nothing, some come from really wealthy families and everything in between, and they build amazing businesses and they've sold them and they've done things that you would have never thought of. It's contagious and it's energetic and it makes you want to be better and to do more. And it just makes you hungry, and it makes you think, I got to do more. I thought I was doing okay. No. I can do a lot more than this. So that's a great thing.
It's the power of a peer-to-peer network and being able to share some of these trials and tribulations that you can't with your employees or your spouse or even some of your friends who don't have similar challenges. So I appreciate you sharing that. So I've got one more question. It's kind of a trick question. And that is, tell me one question that you're never asked, and either you wish they would ask or you're secretly glad that they don't.
Oh, wow. What is one question I'm never asked? Let's see. What one question I'm never asked and I'm secretly, and I'm do I need to be secretly glad they don't, or I wish they would?
Just whatever comes to mind, anything you're not asked. I've got a couple of teed up that I could ask you, but
okay.
Maybe the guitar one was probably one of them. Well, so here's my choices. Number one is, what the hell have you been doing for the last year? All right, since you left AdvoCare, that's one possibility. The other is to maybe tell me some, this may or may not make the cut here, but tell me how you felt about the people impacted, all the distributors that you had these relationships with. I know you covered a little bit, but maybe something else, or maybe a little bit about your fitness, wellness, spiritual routine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, of those 3 questions, I would never shy away from answering the second one, which is just, how it felt, because, there was a lot of close relationships with so many people that were sharing AdvoCare. They had built their business. It was their livelihood. It was their income. They had worked very hard. These were good people. These were good people who were doing good things. They're very generous in their communities, doing great things in their communities. And so that process was truly difficult. And I felt like I truly lost so many friends. And at the same time understood that, sometimes when something happens like that, it's hard to just keep the status quo when something that traumatic has happened in your life. And at the same time, I also had a company that I had just been given the reins to, that if I wasn't putting every waking hour of energy into, that we didn't know if it would survive. So it was a sense of looking longingly over there going, I wish I could do something, but I can't. But I can do something here. And so I've got 200 employees that I got to look after, and we're trying to make sure they still have a job, and I can make an impact there. And so then we just set to work there, and but would never forget the memories and the friends and everybody along the way over all of my 16 years there.
Well, hey, Patrick, on that note, we're going to wrap this puppy up. Thank you so much for joining me on Unlocking Moves. For all my audience, I'm going to ask you to go like and subscribe Unlocking Moves wherever you consume your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, you name it, brother. And give us a 5-star review. We love those reviews. And Patrick, thank you so much for joining me on Unlocking Moves.
You bet. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
If you're an entrepreneur and you think you might have outgrown a member of your team, or maybe you've got a mic, as we talked about in Who's Your Mic, check out this quiz at who'syourmic.com/quiz. That's who'syourmic.com/quiz.